welcome back to See You Live. I'm Lauren Sega, the host of this show and also the associate editor of Columbus Underground. Today I have here with me Jennifer Wright with Fleur's Dream, critical organization here providing really necessary services to homeless people here in Columbus and also in Louisville, Kentucky and New Orleans. Welcome, Jennifer.
Nice to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah. So you started Fleur's Dream in 2014, first traveling to New Orleans to provide some hygiene products to those still struggling from the effects of Hurricane Katrina, still 10 years later. What inspired you to start there, and then what made you bring that back here into Louisville?
Well, when we first started, it was actually an idea. We went there on vacation, and the idea came about because there's a lot of traveling teenagers in New Orleans. These are the ones that basically hop the trains and they migrate all over the country seasonally. So the idea was originally to take dog food down to them the next time we went to New Orleans. And we usually go there twice a year just for vacation. So that was my husband's idea, and I said, well, hey, while we're doing that, how about we go ahead and do hygiene products? So after about 3 months, I had 100 baggies already made up. They were sitting in my guest bedroom, and we weren't scheduled to go back down until October. So that was another 10 months. So it's like, okay, well, now what do we do? So the idea was to collect hygiene items and then go down to the various missions in Columbus. So we started off, at first it was just myself, my husband, and our 2 boys, and we made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We went down to the missions. We had approximately 30 hygiene items, just to hand out to people. And then it just kind of grew from there. Then we started going to Louisville, Kentucky. That's where I'm originally from. And they have a definite need because they have a lot less shelters than we do here. Okay. They have essentially 3 shelters there for about 7,000 homeless. So we started going down there, and then it started becoming more routinely. Every other month, we'll do 1 month Columbus, we'll do 1 month Louisville, the next month Louisville, maybe once a year we'll do New Orleans, because obviously you can't travel there that often. But we did our big New Orleans one, and we've done that twice, and then ever since 2014, 15, then we've done it monthly. Ever so often, especially on an off month in Columbus, we'll do a smaller event where we'll just do food. We like to kind of still go around and still feed people, but the hygiene, it takes a while to collect because we usually give out probably 1,000 items worth of hygiene, so it does take a little bit to collect those.
Mm-hmm. So that's what you started with, is hygiene products and some food, but since then you've added haircuts and shaves. So how did you establish those partnerships with barbers?
Basically, the barbers contacted me. They saw it on Facebook. They said, "Hey, what do you think about having barbers coming into the events?" And I said, "I think that's great." So we try to have barbers at every event that we do in Louisville. We always have barbers. We're inside. Sometimes in Columbus, because we're outside, it's a little inclement weather. But I'd say more often than not, the barbers have been there. So it really adds something to the event when the barbers are there. You can tell that people just feel better about themselves when they get a haircut.
Right, because it's not like essential, it's not like food or water.
Right.
Or, it's not quite like shampoo. It's just a haircut, right. But it does add that element.
But it's so much more. It's a lifting of the spirit, and it's, some people, they come because they're going to have a job interview that following week, and they don't have the money to afford a haircut. So it's nice that they are able to come, get their haircut, and then they come back, several months later and say, "Hey, I got that job. Remember what I was telling you?" And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely tell that it lifts somebody's self-esteem when they get a haircut or a shave.
Mm-hmm. So as you've been working in the Columbus community, as you've been serving the homeless community, how have you seen that change? Has it gotten better? Has it gotten worse? Has it stayed the same?
I'd say it's stayed about the same. There's always a need. Sometimes we see the same people month after month after month, but then it's a lot of new faces. Mm-hmm. What we've noticed in Louisville particularly is there's definitely more people living outside, and there's more children, more families. In Columbus, we tend to stay by the men and women's shelters, so we don't see as many children, but you hear that there are lots of camps with children there. So I can't say that it's gotten better, because we always have a need, and we see upwards of 200 people an event, and it's just, people have either lost their jobs, or there was one man that came to our event. His wife had passed away, and so their income was cut in half, and he had 2 small boys, and he said, I'm trying to get back on my feet, but with that half an income, it's really hard. And they lost their home, and so they went to the family shelter, and they actually walked 2 miles to come to the shelter, so that they could have something to eat. And they saw our event, so they just came over, and we gave them food, we gave them hygiene, we tried to give them snacks, we were trying to load them down. So the need is just always there.
Mm-hmm. And I know they're facing these chronic barriers to getting into a stable situation. Are you able to connect them to any long-term services like homes or mental care facilities?
What we have a flyer that we bring to a lot of the events, and it has probably 100 different contacts that they can follow up with. Mm-hmm. And it's just that the need is so great that people will always tell us, I'm on a waiting list. So and to be honest, we have helped people even after the shelters, because a lot of times people just want to get out of the shelter, and they go into an environment, and it's not the greatest environment, but it's still an environment. One person, a young lady that I've been helping, she wanted to get out of the mission. She had a 4-year-old daughter. She went into an apartment. There were no appliances. There was no furniture in it, but she had a roof over her head. So that was an opportunity for us to use social media and send a message out and say, does anybody have a bed? Does anybody have a stove? Does anybody have anything for this person? And then what I did is get on Facebook Marketplace, and you can see people that are getting rid of appliances. So even though they're out of the mission and they're not technically homeless, we like to call those people underserved. Mm-hmm. And we try to use our networking to see if we can help them kind of bridge the gap until they can get on and get a job and support themselves.
And I'm sure that need gets even greater in the winter months.
Absolutely. At the end of last winter season, I rode around to every CVS and every Walgreens, because they had the hot hands on sale for 75% off. And I know we're going to use probably 200 or more at the event on Sunday. They need blankets, they need sleeping bags, they need socks, they need hand warmers. It's not like it is during the summer months, because they just need to basically keep dry. But in the winter months, it's a struggle to survive out there.
Mm-hmm. So in your background on Fleur's Dream, you talk about this important figure in your life, Steve, mm-hmm. Who your mom was connected with, and who was formerly homeless, right. But then dedicated his life to help people who needed it.
Right.
You spoke about how at first it was easy to misjudge him,
mm-hmm.
But you were able to move past that, and he became really important to you as well.
Right.
Did that kind of affect how you engage with the people that you serve?
Oh, absolutely, because anytime I see somebody that's homeless, I think this could have been my stepdad, Steve. Steve was a rather large man. He had Coke bottle glasses. He had bad teeth. He had been a former alcoholic and addict, but he got clean and sober. He turned his life around. He also had mental illness, which is very prevalent in the homeless population, and it was not uncommon for him to bring homeless people home to my mother's house, where he lived as well, for breakfast, or he would go buy them groceries for the day. He went above and beyond. And he died of a massive heart attack at age 55. So that was a big blow to me. It was very unexpected. And so my mission was to carry on the good deeds that he did. But at the time we had fairly small children. They were about 6 and 9 at the time. So I kind of got waylaid, and it took me a few years. And then once my husband kind of spurred me along about the dog food, I tend to be a little obsessive about things. So I said, well, if we're going to do dog food, let's do cat food, and let's do these types of things. And he's like, okay. And he always reminds me, this was just supposed to be about dog food. It's like, well, it's gotten a lot bigger now than that.
Sure. So when you encounter new people, do you still get that like kind of tendency to misjudge initially? How do you move past that too?
I think unless you, once you get into it, they're people, and it's great to hear their stories. And that was the one thing that they used to talk about my stepdad Steve, is that if there was somebody that looked like they were homeless, or they were disheveled, or they smelled, that would be the first person that he would go to, because they needed his help. So when we see homeless people, we always call them our friends, because we're all put on here to take care of one another. So if you see somebody that's down on their luck, I mean, it's easier to judge, but there's really no reason, because my thought is that could be any of us. I mean, my stepdad was homeless for a long time, and he turned his life around. So, that could be any of us at any given day.
So you have an event coming up this Sunday.
We do.
161 North Grant Avenue. Right near the Mission.
Correct.
And then volunteers, they can show up at 10:30, right? To help set up?
10:30, we usually set up hygiene, food, clothing. We have blankets, we have socks. We have a lot of volunteers that are coming that day, and what I've requested is that people that have been there for multiple events kind of back off and let the new people just kind of show them the ropes. Because once you get into the service bug, I mean, we have people that come every single event, and once you get in that spirit of helping, you always come back. You always come back. A friend of mine that I do the events with in Louisville, I hadn't seen her for 30 years. She came to our first event in Louisville, and she's gone to every single event since then. So once you catch that, it's a high that you can't. It's a great feeling, and then you go off and you do your day, and I hope that we've made someone's day a little bit brighter by being there.
Right, and those who can benefit can show up at 11:30.
Yes,
to 1:30
absolutely.
For food, socks, blankets, hygiene products.
It's all free. We're doing, because it's supposed to be cold, we're doing chili, stews, soup, and then we've got sandwiches to serve with it. I hear we have a whole table full of desserts to serve. There's hot chocolate. So we're definitely, and it doesn't have to be anybody that's at the Mission. I always say, if you're underserved, if you're hungry, just come. That's okay.
For sure. Well, this is Jennifer Wright. She's with Fleur's Dream. You can check them out on Facebook and donate. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for coming.
Thank you.